Good evening. With salutations to God Almighty, I, Dr. Divya Krishnamurthy, Assistant Professor, Department of Prosthodontics, on behalf of Vinayaka Mission Shankaracharya Dental College, welcome you all to today's program on roles and responsibilities of dental surgeons in this pandemic, with our eminent guest speaker, Dr. Neelam Andrade, Dean, Nayar Hospital Dental College, Mumbai, and Dean, Jumbo Facility, Mumbai. With the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare projecting more than 31 lakh active cases and over 2 lakh deaths, and our national healthcare system overwhelmed, it is our moral obligation as a community to rise up and be good stewards of the very society we are all part of. And we at Vinayaka Mission Shankaracharya Dental College are firm believers in knowledge is power. With this talk, we hope to help the dental community understand the scope of our responsibility in this time of need and answer some important questions like how can we bridge the gap of healthcare manpower shortage as dental surgeons? What are the levels of COVID cases that we can manage with the help of the medical fraternity? How to navigate the government intricacies while managing such situations, and understanding the challenges and limitations that we can anticipate while managing large volume cases. We hope that the work of Dr. Neelam Andrade and her team serves as an inspiration to us all to contribute in whatever way possible by us to bring forth a positive change. I would like to call upon our beloved Dean, Professor Dr. J. Baby John, to deliver the welcome address. Sir.
Thank you, Dr. Divya. Respected and distinguished speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Neelam Andrade, Dean, Nayar Hospital Dental College, Mumbai, as well Dean, NESCO Jumbo Facility for the COVID, Mumbai, Associate Deans of Vinayaka Mission Shankaracharya Dental College, the organizing team headed by Dr. Reena and her colleagues, university officials, the technical team and admin team of Vinayaka Mission Dental College, the dental fraternity, members of both national and international, the postgraduates, faculties, deans, eminent members of various associations, and my dear colleagues. At this outset, let me welcome you all for this very important topic, webinar, which is the need of the hour of crisis in this pandemic on behalf of Vinayaka Mission Shankaracharya Dental College, which is a constant of Vinayaka Mission Research Foundation deemed to be University Cell. As you all know, the crisis that we are going through. Therefore, we thought that we are just mere the onlookers of this crisis, and we felt really the need as to how can we, the dental surgeon, can lend a hand for this manpower shortage. So this is how we thought of having a lecture by none other than an eminent personality who is already into this, a dental surgeon, and in this COVID scenario who is heading the team in Mumbai, none other than our Professor Neelam Andrade. So I am more than confident that she will give us an insight about how a dental fraternity can give a helping hand or lend their hand in this manpower shortage in whatever way, in whatever capabilities they are, based on their age, based on their health, physical condition, as well as any other means, how they can coordinate with this fellow colleagues, especially the medical and the paramedical team and the government, so that we can form a good unit accordingly at the earliest without wasting much time. So, Madam, I know that you are under very hectic schedule in your administration as well as in your other activities amidst this COVID crisis. I really have to thank you for having accepted our invitation in a very short period. We decided about this last week when we saw the spike in our own place in Salem, where we see so many fatalities. So we thought of finding out a person who is in our own field, who knows our limitation, and therefore you can not only give us confidence, but also motivate our youngsters as well as the elders in their own capacity, especially the interns, the postgraduates, the other faculty members, practitioners to volunteer in all the means in their own capacity at all levels, so that I am very much sure that you will brief us as to in what all way can we take part to help the people around or to save this crisis. So I once again, Madam, thank you wholeheartedly for having come here amidst your busy schedule. Thank you once again, Madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I request Professor Dr. Reena Rachel John, Associate Dean Research, to introduce the distinguished guest speaker of the day. Ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Divya. It is indeed a proud privilege for me to introduce the speaker of the day, Professor Dr. Neelam Andrade. Not because of anything else, but the fact that I used to admire her from my college days without her even knowing that. I did my undergraduation in Goa and she was in Mumbai, and I just seem to have heard about her and her, I guess, her student days and the way she, even I think her reputation went ahead of her and she didn't even know about it. And so I feel like it's a full circle moment for me today to be here introducing her as the guest speaker of the day. I want to start off by, her CV goes on into pages. So I will just take the highlights of her CV, and I would like to tell you or give you an idea of who is speaking to you and with what authority on this topic of today. Her journey as a dental surgeon, I understand, began when she graduated from the Nair Dental College and then went on to do her post-graduation in oral and maxillofacial surgery from the same institution. And after that, she's actually climbed the ladder, and now she is the dean of the same institution from which she got her knowledge and her skill. And so she's been through 3 decades of national and international experience in teaching, performing surgeries, and research. Her track record in delivering top patient care and commitment to hard work, eagerness to learn, even now she calls herself a student, and functioning with a positive attitude, I am sure is why she is where she is. She is a pioneer in the field of distraction osteogenesis in the jawbones, and she's an avid academician. She's got a number of awards ranging from best, senior academician award of the year, superstar dentist of the year, outstanding dentist. There are many awards that she has won to her credit. She has got a fellowship of the International Board for Certification in the Oral and Maxillofacial Surgeons by IAOMS. She's got the TC White Fellowship from the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons, Glasgow. She's also been called as a speaker in the Strong Women of Maxillofacial Surgery. She's been a recipient of the MSN Jinwala's Best Scientific Paper Award on many occasions, which is one of the highest awards in our association. She's, of course, a great administrator, and that is the quality, I guess, that the Mumbai Corporation has recognized and therefore raised her to the level of the Dean of the NESCO Jumbo facility to manage the massive COVID patient inflow that is being managed in the Jumbo facility. She's been the president of our association from 2012 to 2013, where she has taken multiple initiatives to encourage the young postgraduates, some of which being the unique concept of annual master classes for postgraduate students, introducing the Dr. J.C. Durrani Trophy for the best student paper presentation, formatting and formulating and initiating a keynote speakers bank, all to encourage the young ones who want to or who are struggling to find a foothold in our specialty. And our specialty being, I guess, maxillofacial surgery would always be male dominated. In spite of that, I'm so proud to see that she being a woman, she being amidst whatever competition is there in maxillofacial surgery, as with any other specialty, has shown as a bright star in our association. She has also pioneered this. I cannot misspeak telling you, but she has pioneered many surgical techniques and classifications. Oral submucous fibrosis and palatal island flap bilateral coronoidectomy, which was pioneered by her, is internationally accepted. Andrade's classification for orofacial tuberculosis is internationally accepted. Andrade's classification for oral submucous fibrosis is followed worldwide. She's a pioneer in the new protocol for TMJ ankylosis and triad patients, internationally accepted. And there are many more that I can go on ranting and raving about her. She's an invited speaker at many international events. She's right now the president of the Maharashtra chapter of our association, and she has held various positions in our association. And all this is because of her positive attitude and an administrative capability and her willpower and grit and passion to do what she believes she can do. And that is why I applaud, and I'm so grateful that she accepted our invitation immediately to be a speaker on this topic, which I think she is the most right person to be speaking about. She's, innumerable postgraduates have benefited, undergraduates have benefited, PhD research scholars have benefited from her guidance. We ourselves, many of us women maxillofacial surgeons, look up to her as an inspiration. I call her an eagle, and I have, actually messaged her because to tell her that, she's like the eagle that flies out so high that even the crows that peck on the eagle cannot reach the altitude that she has reached. We all would love to emulate you, madam. It's not right to imitate you, but we would like to emulate you and take inspiration from you and follow you. And that is why you are the speaker of the day today. It is my privilege to introduce you today. I've just given you a glimpse of who Dr. Neelam Andrade is. And I hope each of you will take home a message from this talk that she has for you. Thank you, Dr. Neelam. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, before we start with the lecture, just a few housekeeping rules. I request all the participants to ensure that they're muted and their videos are off. Kindly post your questions during the session in the chat box with your names so that they can be addressed during the Q&A session. The feedback forms will be posted in the chat box during this Q&A session for your convenience. Please fill them to receive your e-certificates. And without further ado, I call upon Dr. Neelam Andrade to please address the audience. Ma'am.
So at the outset, I deeply thank and I'm most honored by giving me this opportunity. I thank Vinayaka Mission Sankaracharya Dental College, the Dean, Dr. Baby, and Reena John, who has spoken so much about me, and really it has touched me very deeply. Thank you so much, Reena, and the college, the technical team, and all the professors, the HODs for giving me this opportunity. So I will start with a presentation of mine, and I will kind of take you through the journey that we had at NESCO.
Ma'am, there's an audio disturbance. Is that?
You can't hear me clearly, is it?
We can hear you clearly, but there is a
Humming, is it?
yeah, a pumping or something, some sort of a noise.
The sound in the control room. I can have it shut down for some time. I'll have it shut down. Yeah. So shall I start?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So going through the COVID-19 pandemic and insight into the history of NESCO Jumbo facility, which we started as a DCHC, a dedicated COVID health center, to a dedicated COVID hospital. And towards the end and during my talk, I will highlight on how dentists and the dental fraternity played a very important role in not just commissioning and creating the center, but also working on a daily basis in different ways. So my role as Dean NESCO Jumbo facility started last year from 17th of May 2020. On this date, I had just received an order from the Municipal Commissioner of Mumbai that I was in charge of the NESCO Jumbo facility from today onwards. Believe me, my mind went totally blank when I received this order. I had no idea where or what NESCO was. Although living in Bombay, I had absolutely no idea. I had no idea what's a jumbo facility. I was given only 8 to 10 days time flat to start a jumbo transit hospital complex. On reaching NESCO on the 18th of May, I realized its vastness. It stretched over 5 lakh square feet. And it was just 6 exhibition empty halls and a huge parking space. I kept looking for an existing hospital, but there was no sign of any hospital here. My initial reaction on 19th and 20th of May last year was impossible. I cannot do this. Fear, anxiety, and apprehension gripped me. I had only 2 thoughts in my mind. How can I do this? And no, I just cannot. Believe me, I was absolutely hysterical for those 2 days. But it was a crisis situation. The city of Mumbai had to be saved. Lives had to be saved. So I took hold of myself with family support, with guidance from my senior authorities, with my late father's echoing words. My father always said that there is a solution for every problem. Just look and focus for the solution. Besides, I had a small experience of starting COVID wards in the dental college, where I had started them in the month of March, April, and part of May. I had increased my 20-bedded maxillofacial surgery ward. I had converted the classrooms into COVID wards. I had converted my seminar room into COVID wards. And I had increased it from 20 to 65 wards. And with the help of my residents, my postgraduate students of the dental college, and my medical residents, I was running these wards, and I had already admitted about 220 patients then. So with this in mind, on the 21st of May, I decided one step at a time, let's begin. I gave up charge temporarily of Nayak Dental Hospital, and I picked up 6 of my dental staff members and 2 PG students. And along with my joint municipal commissioner, we came down and reached Nesco Complex, Goregaon on 21st of May last year. Believe me, for the next 12 days, we worked in the open. We sat on chairs and tables just borrowed from here and there. We had no office. We had no washrooms. We planned and worked in the open under the sun and the trees. We had no idea how to create or how to manage a jumbo center. Time was short and there was so much to do. It was to be created in a span of 8 to 10 days. I was joined by my BMC engineering staff, my P South Ward Assistant Commissioner, and we sat together, designed and planned the huge BCHC wards. We soon received in 3-4 days' time porta cabins, which were used as makeshift offices for us. It was a racing mind against racing time. We had to plan, we had to design, we had to execute, and we had to recheck the halls. We were preparing multiple proposals. I didn't have a printer or a desktop. We borrowed it and got one from CSR. So on that, we were making multiple proposals. Remember, this is an MCGM structure which had to be created. So everything has to be done in an official way, which is very important. I prepared proposals for equipments, for drugs, for injections, accessories, stationery, the dead stock I would need, the furniture I would need. I prepared ads, and for the manpower, I needed doctors, nurses, ward boys, ayabais, healthcare workers, security, police, technicians, information technology people. I needed sanitizers, I needed clerks, I needed a medical superintendent, a medical officer, an AMO, and I needed maintenance people, mechanical and electrical, and so on and so forth. So I sat and planned this out and prepared the proposals for each. We needed licenses because this was an open ground thing. It was not a hospital. When I took out the list of licenses I needed almost 30 in number. But later on, this got reduced to 6 because we got linked to a medical college, the KEM Medical College. So because we got linked to a medical college, the licenses of that got extended to us. So that saved me to come down to only 6 licenses. So I prepared proposals and I rushed. Holding the proposals, I went to all the officials, authorities to get the approvals, or I emailed them for approvals to our authorities, the Common Purchase Department of NCGM, the Deputy Municipal Commissioner, and the Additional Municipal Commissioner. Without your sanctions from them, you cannot purchase or get anything. So that was very important because as a government or a municipal organization, we have to think and remember that an audit will happen. An audit will happen and you will have to clear the audit. Because if you don't clear the audit with the correct sanction papers, there can be an inquiry against you. So this fear was another one on my mind that I should not fault anywhere in this. I had a job of nearly 34 years and I didn't want to lose my reputation on this. I prepared SOPs for the doctors, for the nurses, for the ward boys, and for the housekeeping staff. Because we want to know what will be the role of each. All these people who were to be appointed were going to be on a contract basis. So they had to be taught SOPs of their role, what it would be in the COVID center. Through Common Purchase Department of MCGM and through CSR, I was able to get the materials. Remember, all this was happening all together within 8 to 10 days. And I got a lot of material through CSR initially, and later through MCGM, it all started coming in. And when so much material arrives, you need to have proper stock taking, indenting, and recording, because each and every item that comes in, the audit is going to ask you. So you have to see to it that it is all in place and all recorded. We received our welcome kits, we received PPE, we received N95 masks, we received injections, medicines, and it was my team, my dental team of 7 of us who were had made them into different sections, like different departments. They were taking care of each and everything and managing the scene. So the stock committee was doing their job of putting on record everything that had arrived. On the 30th of May, Honorable Shri Aditya Thackeray ji, who is our guardian minister and also environment minister, he paid us a site visit on my preparations. This was the first hall which I had sat down and prepared with the architects and the engineers. And he decided that 2nd of June would be our D-Day. 2nd of June seems so close from 30th, and there was still so much on our minds and so much to do. Our P South ward workers were called in on 30th and the 1st of June to clear and clean the new hall which was created. On the 1st of June, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis paid his visit to see the preparation of the government. I took rounds with him. I explained each and everything to him and the other BJP politicians who had accompanied him. And sir was quite satisfied and gave his press statement on 1st of June. Hardly as soon as sir left, we had to get back into our role of training the ward boys, nurses, and the doctors on how they are going to don the PPE and how they are going to doff the PPE. This was on 1st of June. My team, my maxillofacial surgeons and my 2 PGs and myself, we literally gave them a practical demo on how they have to don, because all these ward boys especially and the healthcare workers were contract people. They have never done a hospital job before. So that was a huge challenge on how they are going to perform. They had to be taught all the SOPs and even simple things of PPE donning and the proper ways of doffing. So this happened on 1st of June. I gave duty instructions to all the healthcare workers after teaching them the SOPs that we had prepared for them, all the nursing staffs and the healthcare workers. We gave hands-on training for handling the oxygen cylinders because, like I said, these were contract ward boys and the nurses. We had to teach them practical demonstration on how to open, how to close, how to increase the flow, and how to check for the oxygen supply. Each and every one of the team was given a practical demo by myself, by my oral and maxillofacial surgeons, and the dental team entirely. On 2nd of June, before start, we did a deep sanitization of the hall, which went on for 6 hours. And my dental team, who was managing the sanitization process, looked into that very strictly. Finally, after the sanitization was done, and we had to do the final checks and see that everything was in place before we opened up the first hall. So we rushed inside. We saw that everything was positioned, the fridge, the racks, the medicines were kept, the laptops were assembled, the software was installed, the IT was working, like the pulse ox, the temperature, and the BP apparatus, and the phones, and everything was in a working condition. Having set the whole thing and putting a oxygen cylinder, because this hall A, which was started on portable oxygen cylinders of 10 kg each. On each bed, we had kept a portable oxygen cylinder. So we checked the flow meters, we checked that all the keys and the panas are in place, and everything is set before we moved out and opened it up. So on 2nd of June, finally, as a dental team of just 7 of us and 2 PGs and my administrative team, we succeeded in 10 days, and the first hall of 285 beds was going to be open for COVID patients. On this day, we sent the first batch of our healthcare workers. I had arranged transport buses within the complex because the complex is huge, and we sent them off at 5:45 to start off the first hall. Believe me, on this day, we had got a list of 21 COVID patients who would be coming to us from the disaster cell of Mumbai. And we waited the whole evening and up to night till 12:30, but no patient arrived till then. And it was at 1:30 a.m. on the 3rd of June where you can see my first 2 patients walking into the first COVID hall of 285 beds. Now, if you note, we have got smart OPD booths. You can see the doctors inside wearing just an N95 mask and with a laptop in front of them. There's an intercom phone outside, and you can see the temperature gun is there, and the pulse ox is there, and the BP apparatus is there. And the doctor is speaking on the phone with the patient outside, taking all the details on the phone, and he enters all the details in the software, SuperDoctor software. So where are the dentists in this? The dentists have joined this team of doctors in the OPD booths. This is a contactless booth. We have 1 DO, 1 MD, and 1 dentist. So the dentist and the DO can easily take the demographics, the Aadhaar card details, the RT-PCR details of the patient, the clinical signs and symptoms, and the parameter vitals. And the MD decides the line of treatment, and he enters it in the software. You can see that once the center opened up with the first hall, in the night itself, we had admissions pouring into the triage booth. And soon, with the 3 people who are sitting, one is a dentist, one is an MD, one is a data entry operator. And they take all the details of the patient, and the data entry operator allots the bed to the patient. And this is the triage area. After that, the patient goes to the ward. So here you can see in the triage area, I also had arranged ECG testing, portable chest X-ray, and lab tests. This was not a hospital. I had to arrange all this within 8 days. So we had the ECG, the portable chest X-ray machine, and the lab. So we have Apli Chikitsa system with pathology labs in government and in MCGM. So I had extended that and got it outsourced to ThyroCare labs. So ThyroCare labs people, technicians were with us who were doing the lab investigations, and we appointed the ECG and the chest X-ray technician. So here the patients are there lined up for the tests. On the other slide, you can see the ambulatory patients. They are checked up in every shift. So those who are ambulatory, they come and they line up and sit before the smart OPDs, which are also there in the wards. So besides the triage smart OPD booths, we have these contactless booths even in the wards. So the doctors who are there, they can have dentists there who take all the clinical signs and symptoms of the patients in all the 3 shifts, and they enter all the details in the software. So here also with the dentist in the smart OPD, we also keep an MBBS doctor or an MD doctor to help in the deciding the line of treatment. But with the crowds, the dentist enters all the paravitals and the clinical signs and symptoms. The decision of the treatment is taken by the medical person. So if you notice, these smart OPD contactless booths, the doctors inside are not breathing the air within the wards. They have got a separate AC installed inside. So, and their entry is from outside straight into this, so they don't come through the wards. So therefore, they are not sitting in PPE, they are sitting only with an N95 mask. This is on a lighter note, a tea time where the patients are served by the healthcare workers and given some biscuits and farsan and packaged drinking water. Now, as far as bio-waste disposal is concerned, these people were also trained by the dental team on how the rules have to be followed for bio-waste removal. And that is so important, which as dentists can easily teach the healthcare workers. And you will not find it all piling up and infecting the area, but it is neatly and very tidily put into the yellow bags and then taken to the area where the bio-waste van will come for collection. On the 5th of June, I had the first visit by the Central Government of India officials and the AIIMS officials to understand how I'm running the center. I gave them full explanation of the first hall which is started and made them understand my further plans for the second hall. They were pretty satisfied and they left. On June 2020, simultaneously, we were preparing for Hall B, and this was going to be a bigger hall with 888 beds. For this hall, it was a huge hall, bigger than Hall A, and I decided to divide it into 8 wards, 7 for the positive COVID patients and 1 ward for suspects. And 2 wards I arranged and went for pipeline oxygen with the Duracells. So this was a very big hall, and it is very important that you have separate wards for male and female, because there are a lot of RTIs coming that, the females should not be harassed in any way. So it's very essential that when you design, you create partitions and separate them off. So you can have partitions for male, female, and you can have partitions for oxygenated wards. So in this, we had planned 2 oxygenated wards with pipelines, Ward 3 and Ward 5, and the others with portable oxygen cylinders. So here you can see the partitions were created. We were working very fast to get the Hall B ready because the numbers were rising. And here also you can see we had a portable oxygen cylinder for each and every bed, and pipeline was given to 249 beds. So the pipeline support, we got Duracell cylinders, and I had 20 Duracell cylinders. These are 250 kg oxygen cylinders. Here also, as you can see, we have gone for the contactless booths in the triage as well as in the wards with an intercom telephone connection between the patient and the doctor who will be inside. We had to create showers, male and female separate. The ratio which was done was 12:1, 12 people to 1, which is an accepted ratio. We had heated mobile showers and almost 80 of them. And here we kept timings different for male and female patients to use. We had mobile toilets installed beyond the ones, there are already inbuilt toilets in the halls, but since it was a huge hall of 888 beds, going with the ratio, mobile toilets were made. We had prepared staff lockers and doctors' lockers before they went in for donning. And as you can see, this was a bigger hall, so we had large number of booths till 13 for the contactless triage area as well as in the ward areas. So our Honorable Shri Aditya Thackeray ji visited us again for asking us and preparations for Hall B, and he was quite happy with the progress made. We did a final, after all the work was complete, a final deep sanitization process of almost 6 hours was taken up, and it was monitored by my dental team to see that each and every corner is well sanitized. We placed everything in position. Here, as you can see, is the triage area for the admission and registration of the patients. And on 16th of June, our second hall with 888 beds was ready, divided into 8 wards for the positive and 1 ward of 66 beds for the suspect patients. 248 beds had pipeline oxygen gas with 20 Duracells, and all others with the portable oxygen. So this team again, which you can see, were the 7 of us from the Nahar Hospital Dental College who did this work, and we succeeded, and Hall B was ready to start off. So like you can see the expanse, I explained to you, I had partitions made and a central passage where the healthcare workers would pass. Signages were put everywhere instructing the patients where what will be available, because it's a huge hall, and all the beds of course are numbered. And here you can see the suspects ward, which is a small ward of 66 beds. We divided it again for male and female patients, and it's got a barrier, a strong barrier between the positive patients and the suspects. They have a separate food court and a separate toilet complex, so they don't mix with the positive patients. Their swabs are done, and once the reports come positive, then the patient is moved to the positive wards. So you can see on 17th of June, when the Hall B starts, the triage area gets filled up with the new admissions. Patients are simply pouring in. And here a point of caution was that while these patients are waiting, it is very important for the sister or for the doctor or for the dentist to go around and check their oxygen saturation. Sometimes, like we had one patient whom we picked up like this, he was in the state of happy hypoxia and his oxygen was just 52%. So immediately we take them on the bed, which we keep in the triage with the portable cylinders. We also keep a BiPAP machine. And in case if they are in that state, before they reach or collapse, we attend to them immediately. That is very, very essential. You don't wait for the patient to come right to the window, but check their oxygen beforehand. So the patients' admissions started increasing and they started pouring in, but this was a bigger hall of 888 beds, plus our hall A of 285 beds was on. So we could take practically all the patients who came to us. And here you can see, you can also add a multi-para monitor, which could be a better thing to add, and BiPAP, CPAP machines and high-flow-nasal cannulas also we had kept, but we didn't have a multi-para monitor. So if you're thinking of something, it is better that in the triage area, you include that. So you can see our hall B, the wards had started filling up. We had separate wards, like I told you, for the females, separate for the males. And this is a nurse station. In each ward, we have a nurse station here. So the nurses were only for the patients who are not ambulatory, the doctors and the nurses would go to them. Those patients who are ambulatory, they come to the nurse station. There's a mic system. So you call out the patient's name and they come over there, they line up and they collect their medicines. Those who are not ambulatory, doctors, nurses go to them and check their paravitals. Now, in this also, for checking and monitoring of the paravitals of the patient, we appointed dentists along with the medical people. Now, here you can see a patient who has just arrived and is critical. In the triage area, he is being attended to by the doctors, and the oxygen cylinder and BiPAP machine is there and is given attention. Wheelchairs are there to wheel the patient out. And what's most important is in our center, it's just a drop point and the patient comes in straight. There is no case paper, there is no payment. Patient comes in straight and is immediately attended to, which is very important, especially if their saturation is dropping. You need to take them in most urgently and attend to them. What are the provisions provided during the 3 shifts? Provisions are being sent daily in 3 shifts because you have to send them from the central control room and from the pharmacy in the control room. So this is the daily amount of Bisleri water which we used to send inside in the wards. Once our RO plant was fixed in September, when I had the dialysis machines fixed, we stopped the packaged water because it's very expensive. And with the help of RO plant and dispensers, we kept a dedicated housekeeping team to fill up the dispensers, and we are sending that inside. So here you can see my dental team, which is keeping track of what all material is going in the 3 shifts. What is the requirement per ward? The medical people or the nursing staff, they put up the requirement to us on intercom, or they send a WhatsApp picture message, and all the material is packed into the tempo, which goes and drops it in the hall. And at that time, there is a dropping point, the time when the ward boys and the housekeeping staff of the ward come out, collect it and take it in. The food, the NESCO meals are provided free of cost to the patients in the wards, and very hygienic food, which is packaged in hygienic containers, and sealed packets are provided to each of the patients. On 27th of June, there was a second visit by the Central Government of India officials, Mr. Love Agarwal, Dr. Kunal Kapoor, and Dr. Pradeep Vyas. They wanted to know how far I had come and what all I was doing, and with the ICU needs, what was my plan for the future. So I gave them all information on what all has been done, how I am conducting the work, and what is going to be my plan now for the ICU. Side by side, while this was going on, we were involved in patient management from the control room. We were holding weekly Wednesday orientation classes. Do you understand that all these batches are contract people? They are contract doctors, nurses, ward boys, and data entry operators. Some of them may have never worked in a hospital before. They must be absolutely raw to COVID and its management. So it was very important to conduct orientation classes for every new batch that came. So the dental team, on a weekly Wednesday, we used to hold orientation classes for the new batches. So we used to address the nursing staff and give them the SOPs of their roles, address the new doctors who have come, teach SOPs and the software, the doctor software that we have started on how to use the doctor software. We used to teach SOPs to each and every ward boy and train them for the oxygen management and other roles. So you can see my maxillofacial professor and my PG students, maxillofacial surgery PG students, they are handling and physically training each and every ward boy who got appointed at NESCO. And this was a very important exercise. Extensive team efforts were done to train them on the BiPAP machines, on the high flow nasal cannula machines, and the ventilator machines. So we took the training ourselves and then we taught them in batches. We did video presentations to them. We called in the technicians and made them understand how they have to use these machines. The month of August was lighter for us, but we were very busy planning for setting up the ICU. I had put up all the requirements that I would need for the ICU because it was going to come up. And I had put up this requirement in the month of May to the Common Purchase Department and to CSR. And all the material finally started arriving from July onwards. The quantum of material that was received, it is again, like I emphasized, very important to do the stock keeping for this. We had multi-para monitors coming. We had the remote control beds coming, BiPAP machines coming. We had the bedside tables and the crash carts, the defibrillators, the trolleys coming. We had the PM Cares ventilators given to us, Agwa ones, the scan ray 200 ventilators. We had the high flow nasal cannulas and more BiPAP machines. So all these machines which came, we had to arrange the installations and the demonstrations had to be arranged for the doctors to follow. At the same time, we were planning and we were pushing very hard for 206 bedded ICU. And for this, we had multiple teams. I had engaged AAA healthcare medical consultant, the civil team, the electrical team, mechanical team, the LMO gas team, the housing infrastructure team, and the HIVAC teams. So all put together, we started designing our ICU. Now, the site visit was done for planning of the ICU in the month of July. Remember, these NESCO are all open exhibition grounds. And in this, we had to create an ICU. The work of the ICU started in August, and the work happened all within this exhibition grounds. There were workers who were appointed on 12-hourly shifts, and they stayed within this exhibition grounds, worked in 12 hours, 24 hours work was done. They created these trusses, the vertical and the horizontal trusses were welded over here itself. And the authorities were pushing very hard to move fast with the ICU construction. There were regular visits by the authorities. I myself took rounds every day with the Joint Municipal Commissioner, with the engineers and the architects, pushing hard for the creation of the ICU within this Hall D. So you can see that we planned 16 bays. And in each of the 16 bays, we have 12 beds in the ICU place, 6 on one side and 6 on the other side. This was created with RAPCON walls, which are not very inflatable. It is fully AC. It has a false ceiling. It has CCTV cameras. It has the HIVAC and the LMO gas supply. So I received 2 large Inox LMO gas plants, and these are 13,000 kiloliter tanks of Inox. Now daily we are having refilling of these on every alternate day. You can see how big this Hall D is, which made my 206 bedded ICU. So 35 days of 24 hours work, you can see the huge efforts which were put by our BMC staff and the workers, and the ICU started shaping from the open grounds. You can see we got the false ceiling, the RAPCON walls, and these panels which came up, 6 on this side and 6 on this side, to have 12 beds in each of the bays. And what's most important is the negative suction effect pressure was created in this, so that we had filtration plants outside. The contaminated air is pulled out from within so that our workers don't get infected. Finally, our ICU started on 11th of September 20. And here you can see this is the ambulance drop-off point at the ICU, just at the gate opening of the ICU, and straight the patient is taken into the ICU. Here you can see that the critical patients are managed well by my team of doctors, intensivists, MD, surgical experts, and even dentists and Ayush doctors whom I have involved in the team. I arrange portable chest X-ray facility with a DR system for the patients in ICU as well as in the wards. And I also arrange dialysis facility of 10 units. And these dialysis machine of Fresenius, I got through CSR from a very nice gentleman, Mr. Himanshu Dave. And with these 10 dialysis machines, we can conduct almost 30 patients per day if required. So here you can see a patient who is undergoing dialysis as well as a portable X-ray machine in the ICU at the same time. The patient is not moved anywhere. Everything is done within the ICU itself. I appointed the technicians, the dialysis technicians or nephrologists to conduct the procedures. Here you can see some of the recovered patients in the ICU who are having their meal, and this is the meal time in ICU. These beds which you can see are remote controlled 5 features, and the machinery which I got in the ICU, I got through CSR from Ratna Trust of almost 4 crores. So I managed to get a contact of Mr. Amit Chandra, and I approached him, and they were very nice to help me and gave me all these machines. Each bed, we have a multi-para monitor, we have the ventilator, and we have these panels to supply the medical oxygen gas, the plain oxygen, and central suction. And if you see these flutes over here, they draw out that's the negative pressure effect, drawing out the contaminated air into filtration plants. I appointed physiotherapists, not just in my ICU, but also for my wards, because the role of physiotherapist is very important to give you the carp position for proning, to improve your oxygen needs of your lungs. And not just that, in the ICU especially, where the patients are bedridden for almost 20 to 25 days. My longest patient has stayed with us for 68 days. So they need some form of physiotherapy to help their muscles.
Yes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 1. ताकत लग रही है 2, हाँ वेरी गुड 3, 5, 4, बहुत अच्छे 1, yes.
And you can see some of the very well recovered ICU patients. Before discharge of the ICU patients, we make them have a 6-minute walk activity. And once they can do that without the support of oxygen for 3 days, then these patients are discharged. And all this I can watch through CCTV cameras from my control room next to me. We are keeping a full watch of all areas of the COVID center. Here you can see a patient of ICU who is well set, recovered, and wanting to go home. The other unique highlights of NESCO were that we provided a welcome kit to each and every patient who visited NESCO and came for admission. I arranged this again through CSR, and each of them given 2 soaps for clothes, for bath, sanitizer, toothbrush, paste, hair oil, shampoo, a comb, and a mask. And we really felt good about that on arrival. And to each of the patients, we gave a steel glass, a steel bowl, a Sholapuri bed sheet, drinking water bottle, a pillow cover, hot water kettle facility, mobile charging plug point, a fan each, and one armchair. And we have the Super Doctor software where our relatives of the patients can log in and they can get all the daily updates of the patient, their parameters, their blood tests, their chest x-ray, and the medicines that they are on. I conducted and started online counseling for the patients because COVID patients we know are a lot into a state of depression. Some of them need counseling. So I arranged this through NGO services of Prafulta. And here I have my dentist who took a lead role in collecting feedback from these patients and also connecting them on the iTab and on the phone to the counselors of Prafulta. So these were online counseling done for the patients. In the ICU, we also had patients who were given phones from MCGM to connect with their relatives, because in ICU, generally, the critical patients we are not allowing with phones, and we give them the phones of MCGM, and the dentist helped us in a big way to connect them to their family members so that they could speak to them. We also had iTabs given by MCGM. The dentist also played a role in this, connecting the ward patients and the ICU patients on iTabs with their families so that, you know, they got a little bit of positivity. So in the month of November, we started the post-COVID OPD because that time it was a little light, and I started post-COVID OPD on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 10 to 2. So in this also, dentists played a big role. We had the phone numbers of all the patients. They would connect to the patients who had got discharged. They would ask them for their symptoms or if they're having any post-COVID problems, and they would schedule an appointment for them to come for checkups. And even when they came, we had dentists sitting along with the medical persons in the smart contactless booths to take the symptoms, clinical signs and symptoms of post-COVID in these patients. And the treatment, of course, was decided by the medical person. And here itself, we also arranged for chest x-ray and ECG and blood tests for the post-COVID patients within the same hall. We had custom designed meals for our patients in ICU because these critical patients, if they are diabetic or they need a high protein diet or they need salt-free diet or low sugar diets, this was decided by the dietitian and was discussed with the NESCO kitchen, and custom made meals are sent to our patients. My postgraduate students and two of my Naya Dental interns, they took part in this Vocalis biomarkers study, which I have conducted in my center on 2,000 COVID patients and a small control group of non-COVID volunteers. And they have collected 4,000 voice samples of the COVID patients, which is the largest in the world. And this information was sent to Israel company, and Israel company has sent me the results already. And the results are that this has an authenticity of 82.5%. I have currently given the data for validation to a statistician from our country, and very soon, maybe tomorrow or so, I'm going to get those results, and then we are going to do the press release for the Vocalis biomarkers through artificial intelligence. We conduct yoga sessions for the patients who are non-oxygenated and in the DCHC wards, just to keep them active and give them some form of physical exercise. And we started free RT-PCR testing even for the general public within the NESCO grounds. So all the patients inside have the RT-PCR testing done. The general public who is there, free testing is done, and the dentists form a big support for this, for the swab collection on the grounds outside the COVID wards. Within the wards for the non-oxygenated patients, I have arranged carom, chess, and ludo. And soon I'm going to be arranging a library for them because I'm getting books. So, you know, some form of entertainment for them. The other special NESCO features are giving 4 times meals to the patient: breakfast, lunch, tea time, and dinner. All medicines, all injections, all investigations are totally free of cost. Not a pie is charged. We don't even keep a prescription paper. HRCT arrangements are done by ambulance service to the Cooper Hospital daily, which is close by. But I would like to inform that I have already spoken through CSR and I'm getting a CT scan machine installed. My room is almost ready. I have got the AERB permission, and the PCPNDT permission is also obtained. And by next 1 week or 10 days, I will have my own CT scan center just outside my ICU. We have a relatives update control room numbers for the wards and for the ICU patients. In this also, the dentists play a very big role, which I'll talk about. The other features of NESCO are that transfer arrangements are done by us, by ambulance or cardiac ambulance, if a patient has to be shifted to a tertiary center. Besides that, I have 17 research studies which are in progress, all being done by my dental fraternity. The NESCO ICU highlights: we have 161 multipara monitors, 137 ventilators, 32 high flow nasal cannulas, 15 BiPAP machines. Like I said, we have remote control 89 beds. We have 40 jumbo oxygen backup bank supply and 2 LMO tanks, which you saw. I have 10 dialysis machines, which you saw. I have a central monitoring system with complete CCT coverage. And my ICU, I have not outsourced. I have had it managed by the NCGM doctors, the KEM medical doctors, and the contract doctors, and a part of it is also by the dentists. So the other highlights of NESCO Jumbo are: we have a fire alarm, I have installed smoke detectors, beam detectors, I have a fire brigade on call 24 hours, I have 4 ambulances, 2 hearses, 4 transport buses, and 6 DG sets, which is very important. Last year in Mumbai, we had an electric trip which went on for the whole city. In fact, I don't know if it was whole Maharashtra. For 12 hours, we didn't have electrical supply. And I had so many patients in ICU and wards. But because of the DG sets in place, we didn't have any problem. So the current total manpower that I have on 20th of May, I have 486 nursing staff. I have 228 doctors in the wards, 150 doctors in the ICU. I have 743 ward boys, 69 housekeeping, 76 security, and I have technicians and pharmacists, which count to about 36. I witnessed pure joy on 29th January 2021, when we had the inauguration of the vaccination program by our additional municipal commissioner at NESCO. And at that time, the number of patients were very few. And we really thought now with the vaccine coming in, we would soon be moving out. My vaccination crowds come to almost 4,000 to 6,000 per day. But we manage them very, very smoothly. And even on the heaviest of days, we have very good management. And here my dentists play a very big role as data entry operators in the CoWIN portal, as well as in the triage, because when the patients are coming, citizens are coming for vaccination, they have to be asked a certain number of questions like, allergies and whether they've suffered COVID or they're having any emergencies, medical problems and issues. So that is done by the dentist, and we also have doctors. So if they are under any question, they can always approach the medical people. So we have 10 people who are seated here doing the registrations, which is a mix of dentists, data entry operators, and the medical doctors. Once they are given a token, they go to the units. In each unit, we have a waiting area for the vaccination. We have the vaccination area, and then we have the observation area. I have totally 15 units like that. And here in the observation, I have kept few dentists. So they check into the parameters of the patients who have received the vaccine and they are waiting for 30 minutes. They check all their paravitals. They check for any allergic reaction or anything which is come up. And if they feel there is anything which requires medical attention, we have a medical consultant allotted to like four units, and they immediately alert that. I have created a mini ICU within here. So they assist the medical person and help the patient out. The media and Twitter have given us very good reviews about the vaccination process at NESCO. And NESCO has always had a lot of media attention, many a times for good. Sometimes the media has not been good with us because of flash strikes, 2 times which happened by the nursing staff and the ward boys. But I attended to that and I settled the problem immediately. So we got a lot of attention because of the vocalis and because of the large number of patients that are admitted at NESCO and for the vaccination. So NESCO has been hailed for its very smooth vaccination process in large numbers, catering to almost 6,000 and over people per day. And newspapers practically every second, third day have something to say about NESCO. And here we have the mayor who came and met us and wanted to see how well NESCO was functioning. Here we have the policemen whom we gave the vaccine shot and they took a selfie and they were really happy about that. And many newspapers have spoken about the women's power and women's management of COVID in Mumbai. And I happen to feature in 2-3 papers for that. So the total area, as I told you, of NESCO grounds is 5 lakh square feet. And we have totally used 3,67,548. I am in charge of 4 halls, Hall A, B, C, which I have created and made them into wards. And the Hall D, which is my ICU and HDU, is 79,000 square feet. So in my phase 1, I have 2,015 ward beds. I have 206 beds in the ICU. Total, I have 2,221 beds. I have central pipelines which are supplying totally 412 beds. I have portable cylinders, 1,200 of 10 kg, 40 jumbo banks and 2 LMO tanks. So totally my oxygenated beds are 1,818. So far, my total admissions till date today from last year have been 20,775 admissions. My ICU, which started later in September, has had 1,620 admissions. My total discharges are 17,366. Total transfers to tertiary centers or voluntary transfers have been 2,013. 46 patients have undergone dialysis totally. My total mortality is 550 of 20,775 patients. My case fatality is 2.65%. My recovery rate here is 97.35%. Total number of patients given remdesivir is 2,614. Number of patients who got tocilizumab is 220. Why dental fraternity? Now, the doctor population ratio recommended by WHO is 1:1,000, which is ideal. But an economic survey of 2019-20 released information stating that in India, this ratio is 1:1,456, indicating that there is a shortage of doctors. Especially during this hour of need, doctors from alternative medicine and dentists can be of a major help. And here's how We as a dental fraternity did it. I have already given you so much evidence, but I will further highlight on this. So at NESCO from 18th May, a total of 136 dentists have been appointed on contract basis. Total MDS 29, total BDS 107. Along with these, I had 21 interns and 22 postgraduate students from Nar Hospital Dental College who are working at NESCO and come on a rotation basis. Totally now I started with 7 staff members. This has gone up to 18 staff members from Nar Hospital Dental College, all MDS, which form the core committee at NESCO. So the total dental fraternity working at NESCO till date is 197. The duties performed by dental fraternity at NESCO, the control war room, which is the most important area because without the control room, NESCO would collapse. In administration, our group of dentists who maintain the employment records, the effective attendance of the doctors inside, who prepare the rota duty lists, because like I showed you, I have so many doctors working with us. And there we follow a ratio of 5 days work and 2 days off in the wards and 4 days work and 2 days off in the ICU. So we have to prepare their duty lists. They work for 6 hours in PP, and those who work in the smart OPD booths work for 8 hours. So their duty lists have to be prepared, their effective has to be taken, their attendance has to be taken, because everything has to be submitted since they are paid for it, and we have scrutiny which will be done by the auditors. Recruitment. We have a team of dentists who strictly verifies and scrutinizes the candidates who are applying for various posts at the facility. We don't want any fake people or quacks coming in. So therefore, their degrees have to be verified, their verification and registration has to be looked into, and their authenticity of their experience. Tracking team in the control room. I have 3 to 4 trackers per 8 hours shift. What are these trackers doing? We have the software doctor software in which all the details of the patients are entered and the para-vital details are entered, their medicines are entered. So these trackers from the control room, they have the same software is available to us here. So they go through all the patients' records and para-vital figures. And if they find that any patient is not improving, the HGT is high, or the oxygen saturation has dropped, or the BP has dropped, or the BP is high, they make a critical list of these patients. And this critical list of patient is made in each shift. And this critical list of patient is exported into an Excel sheet. And that sheet we share on WhatsApp with the doctors inside. So we bring to their attention that these patients are more critical and please pay more attention to them. And then also in the next shift, if we don't find an improvement or we find them deteriorating, then these patients we either shift to the HDU, ICU, or we transfer them out to another tertiary hospital. So these trackers are very, very essential. They are like a third eye over the doctors who are inside. Sometimes with so many patients and in PP, the doctors inside are not able to understand or to have a complete look. Here they are only looking at their parameters and bringing it to their attention. Or if the medicines is not given, they inform the doctors that look into the medicines of this patient. With this, I could keep my mortality very, very low. And my mortality at my center is the lowest as compared to the other centers. So like I said, retrieving the patient's vital parameters and oxygen levels of the ward patients. They prepare the list of critical patients from this information and they alert the doctors inside to monitor these patients more closely. And this is done by the dentists. Orientation to the doctors. Like I showed you, we do weekly orientation for the new doctors, for the ward boys who are recruited. We teach them the software because everything has to be entered into the super doctor software. All the vitals, medicines, X-rays, reports, investigate, everything has to be entered in that. So they, doctors and the nurses have to be taught that. So before, when they join, they are oriented to all this and then they are sent inside. These classes are taken by my dental fraternity core team and by the dentists appointed with us. Zoom lectures. We arrange Zoom lectures for the doctors for COVID management and other issues, because here we have seen that the guidelines keep changing. So what are the new guidelines? What should be done? So we arrange Zoom lectures like this for the doctors. I have an investigation team in the control room because, like I said, the ThyroCare people and other labs who are there, they send us the reports by mail. So it is very difficult for the doctors inside to sit and check the mails out. These mails which come, the investigations are checked, the mails are checked by the dentist, and this is converted like into a WhatsApp message, and that is sent to the doctors inside for easy access to the investigations. Plus, what all patients have to be investigated and x-rays have to be done. They take the rounds with the medical people. They prepare a list that these patients, these investigations have to be done. This list is shared with the control room. Control room shares it with the technicians and follows up that each patient's chest x-ray, blood collections or ECGs are conducted, and then the reports are sent to the doctors. So the dental fraternity takes admissions from the wardrooms. Wardroom, we get calls from all the various municipal wardrooms, requests for admission of patients. We get calls from the disaster cell. We get calls from requests from relatives or even walk-in patients. So the dentists, they kind of do a triage on the phone and find out the details of the patient, like a teleconsultation, and get to understand the signs and symptoms or their oxygen saturation, where they are currently admitted, what are the issues. If the patient is admitted somewhere, they ask for a transfer summary from that hospital. They confirm the bed for the patient, and this is all done on WhatsApp chats through our control room numbers and the calls which come for requests for admission. Plus, the dental fraternity gives the dashboard details, because in Mumbai, we have a common dashboard of the disaster cell. How many beds are occupied, how many are available, how many oxygenated beds are occupied, how many are available, how many ICU, how many available. This lined list of the dashboard has to go daily 3 times to the municipal auditor and to the disaster cell, so that it is known how many beds are there. So they play a very big role in this. Plus, there is a Quantella software in which live data has to be put in the Quantella software, which is of MCGM, giving details of the admissions, transfers, deaths, and availability to the authorities. So the dentists play a very big role in the control room for that. The dentists arrange the ambulance transfers for transfer of patients from to the ICU, HDU. Suppose if a patient has to be transferred, so they get this arrangements done. If an HRCT appointment has to be done, the dentist on the calling team within the control room will arrange an HRCT appointment for those patients. Then we have to get an informed consent from the relatives for special drugs like Remdesivir or Tosil, or for any procedure to be done on the patient. Suppose it's an intubation, or it is a CVP line to be taken, or any procedure which has to be done, a consent has to be obtained when the patient gets critical. So this is obtained on a WhatsApp chat. We have a format which is sent to the relative, and the consent is obtained on the WhatsApp chat, because you have medical proof that yes, the consent was taken for any procedure that has to be done. If we are giving CPR or whatever, we have to inform the relatives that this information was provided. So the dentists play a role in that too. My dental core team, I have assigned jobs to each of my lecturers or associate professors to me. And we have a team of dentists, that is dental fraternity, my core team, my lecturers and APs from Naya Dental. a team maintains the record on oxygen consumption and availability, because that has to be done. And now we have to give an oxygen audit to the FDA and as well as the government and to the MCGM. What is your daily consumption of oxygen? How you are saving the oxygen? What is your requirement? Because in between there was a shortage. I also faced a shortage, but I came through it smoothly. So this is a new feature which is started. Number of cylinders which are empty, number of cylinders which have come. There has to be a track record kept. So my team does that. My team of dentists collects swabs of COVID patients, of the general public for RT-PCR, and also we have started RAT. So the dentists do that job as well. My dentists give a count for meals, because we are providing free meals, not just to the patients, but to the doctors, to the nurses, to the ward boys, to the housekeeping, to the security. So the exact count of meals that goes has to be given on a daily basis, and previous to that. We have to arrange, because we are giving transport and accommodation to all the manpower appointed by us who want an accommodation, who are from out of Mumbai or far from Mumbai or don't want to go home. So transport and accommodation is arranged by us. So my team of dentists keeps a note of all that so that it runs very smoothly. Vaccination. In the vaccination, which was started on 29th of January, initially I had only 2 units, and this increased to 15 units in 1st of March. Totally, so far till date, we have vaccinated more than 2 lakh citizens, and we are giving both Covishield and Covaxin. So in the vaccination, dentists play a very big role. There's major role in the supervision and operation of the entire vaccination facility is done only by the dental fraternity. So they appoint the people, they teach the DOs, the data entry operators, the CoWIN app, and how to register the beneficiaries, how to check for them, and plus they are appointed at observation units for the vaccination, for inspection, and for parameter vitals, and for alerting the specialists in case of any allergic reaction or a drop in the BP or a rise in the BP, because we have faced a few of these situations and we have taken care of it. But dentists play a very big role, and plus the vials that are given for the vaccine, the same batch vials, the count has to be kept, the temperature of the vials has to be checked in, and daily reporting has to be done of how many vials used, how many people were vaccinated, and the beneficiary list, the sessions have to be created. All that has to be done on an official platform, and the dentists are playing a very big role in this. In the DCH and DCHC awards, what is the role of the dentist? Like I told you, collecting the patient demographics and taking the history of the patient. When the patient comes for admission, you can keep them in PP inside or in the smart booth. They can easily collect all the patient's demographics. They can take history of the patient, medical history or COVID history. We all know that our students can do that very well. Plus, the 6 hourly vital checkups for the patient have to be done in every shift. So the dentist can do that, and if they find anything wrong, they can alert the specialist within the ward in case of an emergency or point it out, and all that is collected on the software. Oral surgeons. The oral surgeons can be posted in non-oxygenated and oxygenated wards where they can easily secure IV lines, and in the presence of the medical person, they can even administer the drugs, and they can place RTs, and they can look into the oxygen requirements depending on the saturation of the patient, because you have to give a particular amount of oxygen. You have to see the consumption. You have to reduce the consumption. Like suppose if the patient is on 4 liters for quite some time, you bring it down to 3, you bring it down to 2, you watch the saturation, you can wean them off, or they need an increase. All this can be done by the dentists or mainly the oral surgeons. In the ICU, I have posted dentists to keep a track on the stock material, because the stock which is going into the ICU is very expensive. The drugs are very expensive. We are sending remdesivir, Tosil, low molecular weight heparin, MPS, so many important drugs which are going in. Since not many of us go for rounds over there, they can be pilferage, they can be misused, they can be anything. So the dentists are keeping a track on the stock. They are keeping a track on the functioning of the medical equipment. You see, you may not have a biomedical technical team. So if the ports are working properly, if the ventilators are working properly, if anything is gone wrong with them, or we have items which can be reused, and we have UV chambers, we have autoclaving, so they can look into those things. The management of the medical equipment, and calling out to the biomedical technical team, calling out to the technicians if anything goes wrong with the ventilators and stuff. The oral surgeons can assist the specialists in emergency airway management, because in ICU we have patients who require intubation, and during these procedures the oral surgeon can help, or maybe if confident enough can even conduct intubation himself in the presence of the medical specialist or an anesthetist. They can help in surgical procedures, or in case of catheterization, Foley's catheterization, or in case of HD catheterization, when a patient has to undergo dialysis, the oral surgeons can help in that. They can help in for RT incision and for CVP lines. They can help in those times, or can even conduct. Plus, now with the mucormycosis coming up, we all know that monitoring of oral hygiene methods and oral examination is a very important part and should be picked up as soon as possible. So now I have employed dentists to conduct this activity and to train the patients and to see to it that they stand over there, especially in ICU, and get the oral hygiene methods follow. And then the dentist from inside coordinate with the control room. So this is my core Nair Hospital dental team, and these are some of our milestone pictures which we have taken when we reached the count of 3,000, when we reached the count of 9,000, and on my birthday last year on December 18th, we reached the 10,000 figure. In January, we had a small felicitation program, and we really thought we'll be going back now. But somehow the second wave came, and it's a stronger wave. And almost like in 1.5 months from March till now, we have reached another 10,000 admissions just in a span of 45 days. And this second wave has been most tiring and most exhausting and most challenging. So finally, today, after 1 year, as we look back, we feel a sense of satisfaction. It has been a very challenging journey. Initially, we thought we will never make it. We had no idea how to do, what to do. We just took a step in time. As the challenges came, we attended to them and we found solutions. Now, as we look forward, we feel a sense of confidence. Yes, we have handled 2 waves, 1 wave and a bigger second wave. There is every possibility that a third wave might come, and now the authorities have told us to get prepared for the third wave. So the phase 3 of NESCO has started. We have put up another 1,500 beds for that, of which 1,000 are oxygenated. And now we are looking into starting a pediatric ward, because third wave is going to involve children, it seems, and 400 bedded ward is going to be put up with a NICU and a PICU section. And but all said and done, we just hope we don't come to that stage, and the worst, hopefully, I hope, is behind us. With this, I would like to end this my talk with one of my ICU patients singing.
बाहों में छुपा तेरी क्या किया और पिया हो तूने और रंगीले कैसा जादू किया पिया पिया बोले मत वाला किया आज बुला तूने तो बदल डाली दुनिया नए है नजारे नए नए इशारे रही ना वो बदबानी दुनिया सपने देखा मैंने क्या किया और किया तूने रंगीले जैसा जादू किया 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 बोले मत वाला किया बाहों में छुपा के क्या किया और पिया तूने रंगीले जैसा जादू किया 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 बोले मत वाला किया बस इससे आगे नहीं गा सकते।
Thank you very much for giving me this honor and the opportunity to present NESCO as it has been for 1 year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for this engaging session. Indeed, it was an eye-opener. You have shown us by practice that being a healthcare provider is not just about diagnosing and rendering treatment. It is so much more. It is about planning, designing, teaching, logistics, and most importantly, it is about raising up to a challenge. Thank you for inspiring us all, ma'am. You truly are the embodiment of multipotentiality. I'm sure we all have a lot of questions. I request Professor Dr. Reena John, Associate Dean Research, VMSDC, and Professor Dr. Vinola Duraiswamy, Head of the Department, Periodontics and Preventive Dentistry, VMSDC, to take over the discussion session. Participants are requested to post the questions in the chat box, and the feedback links are already posted in the chat box. Kindly fill them to receive your e-certificate. Ma'am?
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Neelam. That was fantastic as expected. Now I think everybody has understood why I call you the eagle of our association. And, you know, the meticulous planning, as Dr. Divya said, and, you know, the efficiency and the dedication. There are a lot of questions. Before I go to the question, I want to tell you that the chat box is flooded with appreciation and, you know, acknowledgement of what you're doing from your past students, from your colleagues, from people who have come to know you now. They are just amazed by the volume and the humongous, you know, work that you have managed to do over the last year. So Dr. Neelam, we understand your dedication and your planning. So the first question, Dr. Neelam, is, you know, knowing that there was such a short period of time to start off something like this, how is it that you managed to convince people to get into that team and be as dedicated as you and to train them? You know, how difficult was it and how did you manage to get them to, you know, do what you expected them to do?
So first of all, let me tell you that the staff that I picked up from Nair Hospital Dental College was the staff which had already worked with me for the COVID dental wards, and they were kind of tuned on how we had managed the dental ward. So that was like a small model for us, which we had to expand. And somehow they relate very well with me, and I have a very good rapport that way with my staff members. There was absolutely no hesitation in them when I just picked up just 7 of them, and they are youngsters, and with only 1 AP and the remaining lecturers. And I saw to it that I had at least 2 oral surgeons to start off with me. And because they have an understanding of what wards and hospital setup should be like. And the others, like somebody who would be very good with computers and would be savvy with the software. I picked up somebody like that. I picked up someone who had already made rotas and, you know, shift duties for our residents who were working in the dental college. So she kind of knew how that has to be done. Only this was on a wider base. And then I picked up somebody like my Dr. Ankush, who knows about oxygen, you know, because somewhere down the line, since we are oral surgeons, we have some kind of an idea what wards should be like and what a hospital should be having. So these were the people, the youngsters very dedicated and hard-working staff, because that choice also has to be correct. If you pick up the wrong people and a wrong
Yes.
team, then
Yes.
you're going to be in real trouble and you will flop, you know.
That's
And
right.
yeah, so that was very essential. Just seven of us, six of them and one me, seven, and two PG students. And once we got coming, believe me, it was very difficult to start with because we had nothing to start with, nothing. No, it's not a hospital. You know, having a hospital setup is so different, and starting from open grounds.
That's
you
right.
know,
Yes, ma'am.
so,
So
yeah.
actually, we've gotten thinking into this because of the second wave and the kind of cases that we are seeing in our local place, madam. The other question that has come up by Dr. P. Sarvanan is, what is the incidence of infection of the staff and doctors who were involved in this effort?
Yeah, so my infection extremely low, I can tell you. And that is also because we teach them very importantly how to doff. Because donning is okay, but it is the doffing time which has to be absolutely done correctly. Like when you're unzipping and you do it very strongly, it can throw an aerosol and it can infect the others and the people around. And also having separate places for doffing for ward boys, nurses, and doctors, because all the doctors may understand you well and may be more careful. The ward boys may not be that careful about it. But we had very low incidences of them getting infected, and exactly where they got infected, that is also a little bit questionable. But we have a study going on this, on the exact numbers. And like I said, in ICU, we have the negative pressure effect. So the contamination is practically nothing in the ICU. In the wards, those who got infected, we have quarantine hotels arrangements. So those staff, we had like a floor for doctors, floor for nurses, and floor for ward boys. So they were accommodated there if at all they got. And those who wanted to be admitted in NESCO itself, then we had them admitted here. Let me tell you one thing, Reena.
Yeah.
Number of positives that came over here with the number of patients is much lower than the numbers I got from dental college.
Okay.
My students and my staff who have got infected in dental college is bigger than here. And those students of dental college, I have got here to NESCO and admitted them here and treated them. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So I guess it's because of the protocol that is followed there, right? And that must be the reason why the infection must have been less. There's another question, Dr. Neelam, by Dr. Sarian. He asks, how do you, the discharged patients, when they have finished using their stainless steel utensils, do you reuse them, or what is it? How are these materials? What do they? Or do they take?
Yes.
Yeah, they are reused.
Reused? No,
not reused. Not
no.
reused. Yeah, they're sent with the patient. Huh?
If they want, they can take it home.
Okay. Dr. Vinola, are there any more questions that you want to ask? Dr. Vinola?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. Dr. Neelam, ma'am, thank you so much. We just have a few, there are a lot of questions, but we'll just shortlisted a few questions. There are a few people who just wanted to know about how many patients between the first, since you have done it in two phases, between the first phase and the second phase, after the first phase recovery, how many of them have reported back with the second, during the second wave? Will you be able to tell us or highlight a little on that?
You mean infected again and reported back?
Yes,
I didn't get.
Yes, ma'am. Infected again and reported back to the NESCO facility.
No, I haven't come across anybody like that who has got a second infection and come back. They have come for their post-COVID problems, but second infection, no.
No. Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, how many, question by Dr. Mohan, how many post-recovery mucormycosis cases were seen?
So from what we have seen, I have had only 2 patients which we have diagnosed with mucormycosis, that also in the last week. we have picked these patients up. And since at NESCO we don't have any surgical OTs or any procedural rooms as such, we have immediately we tested them for the swab, and both of them were negative, and we immediately transferred them to a tertiary care hospital, that is Seven Hills, for further management. Because ours being only a COVID, we are only allowed to do management of COVID and nothing further than that. So anything like that, we have to pick up and immediately transfer.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, there's a question by Dr. Stephen Raj about the role of HFNC and NIV in type 1 and type 2 respiratory failure cases who've been admitted.
Sorry, can you come again?
The role of HFNC and NIV in type 1 and type 2 respiratory failure cases.
Okay. So HFNC, we have more or less, kind of discontinued, because it is found that the oxygen consumption with high flow nasal cannulas is very high. And in order to reduce the shortage of oxygen, high flow nasal cannulas have been discontinued. So we start off basically with nasal prongs, go on to face mask, go on to NRBM, and then to NIV. And then also if a patient is desaturating with NIV, then immediately we go on to intubation. So that is the kind of protocol we follow over here.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. So there's one more question, the last question, I think. Dr. Ria has asked, what are the terms and conditions if a dentist wants to start telemedicine for COVID patients? Is that something that we can
start telemedicine?
Yeah, telemedicine for COVID patients. Are there any terms and conditions for that? Any legal, is there?
Actually, just dentists treating totally may not be accepted. It would have to be done by a medical person or an Ayush doctor, because those are the kind of guidelines we have received. So even over here, when we are having them working, they are doing paravitals monitoring, collecting the data, checking up. But decision making for them alone, I won't think that would get accepted, because initially when I had started, I had got RTIs that how come NESCO is appointing so many dentists, and then I had to give an answer to that. So we never know how the public might react, because the government has still not included that. You can be a body helping the medical people. You can do a lot of things, but all alone doing a teleconsultation, I don't think it would get accepted in the law.
Thank you, Dr. Neelam. We would love to go on and on with questions, but I think our dean has been making notes as you have. I was just watching him making notes as you were talking, and I'm sure he has some questions. And after that, I think we'll close down. Dr. Baby John.
Madam, thank you so much. I'd like to appreciate you for the great effort you have done. And Madam, now the take-home message, what I would like to say is, I would like to ask is, our dentists, there are many people who wanted to work or wanted to serve in some way or other. But then, is there any message what you can give them? Like these are, you have already told that data operating and telemedicine or the vitals checking along with the medical persons you can do. But the problem, what I see in our area is, we are lacking a leadership crisis. There you took the leadership role, and that is why you were able to do all those things. Now, how are we going to, in case if there are many youngsters or many people who are wanting to serve, but then an initiative has to be taken. Can it be through the IDA, or can it be through the IMA or the government sector? How do we make them engage? So how do we go about giving them a chance to work? What is your suggestion? Like telemedicine or data operators or home quarantine patients, can they go and at least check the vitals and report and tell them to the concerned people? So in some small ways, what the dentist can play the role. What is your take-home message at last?
So, even if they are going to infected homes as such, they would have to be in PP. You cannot just send them, Yeah. So maybe you have the swabs done, teach them how to do the swabs. and give them PPEs to go to people's houses if required and do the testing, and involve them in the control room activities to do the like the triage which we make our calling team do. So when the patients call up for admissions, you can have a set of questions given to them which they would ask on the phone to the patients and would understand how aggressive or how mild or moderate their symptoms are, and whether admission is needed for these patients or no, you know. And they could have a regular, suppose if a patient's report has come positive and RT-PCR is positive, they can call up the patient, they can find out the oxygen saturation of the patient, they could find out the signs and symptoms of the patient, they could make daily calls to the patient. If his oxygen is somewhere in the range of 96, 97, he can be very much self-quarantined at home and not required to get admitted. You know, he could find out his other medical history and a daily call regarding his saturation, doing a 6-minute walk, whether he gets any breathless, holding his breath for 20 seconds, whether he is getting breathless, and then deciding whether he would need admission or no. So they can start that way. You can involve them in collection of swab, and you could involve them in setting up a small COVID ward. Maybe just start off with 10 beds, 20 beds, you know, in your wards, and like, you know, what all things will be needed for management of COVID. They could make a blueprint and, you know, get a little excitement from that, that how this has to be planned and what they should be looking into. They can be involved in vaccination, as I told you, because they can be data entry operators and creating sessions for the beneficiaries, doing the vitals monitoring of these patients, whether any allergic reactions or anything are coming up, you know. So get started that way in a small way, and then it will definitely help. I have a number of dentists wanting jobs, and like, you know, I have to stop them that no, I'm full now, I don't need. They are so excited to work in Nesco, so much. And they want to go in, they want to wear PPE, they want to go in, they want to treat the patients. So you will actually see that they will, you just make a start, they will come running to work.
That's a good motivation.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm really grateful to you, Reena and Dean Dr. Baby and the college. Divya, thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for so patiently answering all our queries. I request our Dean, Professor Dr. J. Babyjohn, to kindly felicitate Dr. Neelam.
Madam, please accept our small token of appreciation certificate, e-certificate.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. I request Dr. Vinola Duraiswamy to kindly chair the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Divya. On behalf of the Vinayaka Mission Shankaracharya Dental College, myself, Dr. Vinola, Professor and HOD, the Department of Pediatric Dentistry, I am very privileged and honored to propose the vote of thanks. Dear Dr. Neelam Andrade, ma'am, our deepest sense of gratitude for the fabulous, the humongous, the colossal, the elephantile, I don't know the number of the numerous words that we can use here, for the great work that you and your team have executed at the Nesco facility. It is a great work, and your lecture has been excellent, and it has been very insightful and an eye-opener for us indeed on the roles and responsibilities what we as dental surgeons can do in this pandemic. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you is a small word, and our really heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am. My thanks to our university officials, the management of Vinayaka Missions Research Foundation deemed to be university, for the support in all the endeavors that our institution always takes. My profound thanks to our Dean, Dr. J. Babyjohn, for his unstinted encouragement and never-ending motivation. Thank you, sir. I extend my heartfelt thanks to Associate Dean of Research and Scientific Affairs, Dr. Reena Rachel John, for spearheading today's program. Ma'am, your appealing enthusiasm and for perfection will always keep us on our toes. Thank you, ma'am. I'm happy to inform that more than 450 participants on Zoom and YouTube have been a part of this program, and a lot of messages have come in the chat, ma'am, Dr. Neelam, appreciating for the work, great work that you all have done there. I thank the participants because your presence and participation are really the highlights of this program. I thank our international participants from Malaysia, UAE, UK for being with us. Our friends and neighboring states across the country, we appreciate your presence. Dear colleagues and friends, I'm pleased to thank each and every one of you today for your presence here, because your steadfast support always helps us and keeps us motivated. My heartfelt thanks to Dr. Divya for meticulously taking us through the program. Thank you, Dr. Divya. We are fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very dedicated and motivated people for being the backbone of this program. For the promotional video, the certificate preparation, for the feedback forms, my heartfelt thanks to Dr. Shantarupan, Dr. Narendran, Dr. Kumar for the same. To the administrative officer, Mr. R. Nadarajan, for the sincerity and the dependability, not only in this program, but for all the programs our institutions have done. Our technical support, Mr. Sudarshan, for always being around and helping us throughout. I thank the Almighty for his never-ending grace, and also prayers to him seeking blessings for all the people who are involved at the NESCO team to keep all of us safe and healthy, to keep our near ones and dear ones safe and healthy. Thank you so much to all the participants. Adieu till the next time we meet again. Participants, you've been fantastic. And Neelam ma'am, a huge thank you to you for really enlightening us and opening. It's been like literally a third eye which has been open to us. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Stay safe, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. I trust with this talk, we have been able to inspire dentists all over to take up the task of bridging the gap of the healthcare manpower shortage during this crisis. With this, we take a farewell from you all and hope to see you all in our next program. Thank you, Neelam ma'am. Thank you all. Have a great night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Neelam ma'am. I'll message you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Thank you, Divya, Vinola, Sudarshan, Kumar, Narendran, Nataraj sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll meet again
Yes.
in the next link.
Yes.
Yeah.